excited you all could be here to share your time and stay to the end and win. Down at the bottom is the chat feature, as well as there's a Q&A place. So please, if this is your first time here, just hit the chat, pop in and say hi, tell us where you're from.
Tell us the weather in your neck of the woods.
Yeah. This is a roll call. Everybody can participate.
I don't mean the jazz band, but we do need a weather report, a forecast for one that'd be awesome. And if you want to ask any questions anonymously, but the Q&A function at the bottom, that's really cool. And we're going to be monitoring chat. We've got a couple of, if you don't mind me just kicking it off, Jay.
Yeah, let's go.
Episode 79, hitting a home run with your golf tournament, your golf outing, golf charity function. But we have two of the heaviest hitters in the entire golf game, Lisa Kirksey and Amy Meyers from Muscular Dystrophy Association. Doing this for a long time, and not just doing it for a long time, but doing it exceptionally well through so many crazy twists and turns in the fundraising world. And in typical fashion, we're gonna have a really cool conversation today. We were just talking about polarity. We want to talk about like what things you absolutely have to do to hit a home run with your golf tournament and what things you absolutely have to avoid. And then we'll talk about some things in between, but let's just keep the interaction going the whole time. And like I said, we have to use this time to our advantage. We have an hour with two of the most prolific fundraisers in the space. So let's take advantage of that. And like Jason said, stay till the end, and we'll give away an auction item that you can use at your next golf function, maybe, or fundraising event. But so elated to have you both. Lisa Kirksey's coming in from Athens, Georgia, and Amy Meyers is in the Charlotte area. And thanks so much, ladies, for coming. Really, really appreciate it.
Yes, happy to be here.
Yeah, just a little, like I said, a little housekeeping. The chat function feature is turned back on. Sorry, it was off.
Okay, cool.
So it's on now, and the Q&A is there. So please ask away. We'd love to hear from you. You know, when we talk about golf tournaments, one of the things we want to do is we want to talk about how you can make money. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, golf tournaments are a great way to share the message, get the word out, talk to people, bring in new donors and people. But one of the things we definitely want to make sure we do is to raise money. And so that's why we wanted to bring these two heavy hitters in here to talk about it, because they know a lot about it. They do a lot of tournaments and they raise a lot of money for MDA, and they're so willing to share. We had Amy on about a year ago. We talked about this huge deal, learned so much. And so we wanted to come back and see over the last year, kind of some lessons learned. And we're going to be asking Lisa some questions. So that way you can do what your tournament, whether your tournament's going to be, so bear with us, because whether your tournament's in 3 weeks or in, not till next spring, we want to make sure that you've got some great information to take away. So Lisa, thank you being here, Amy. So I'm just going to pop right off. We're going to start off and start talking about pre-event, pre-tournament. So Lisa, why don't you give some rules of the road that you guys look for to have a successful tournament when you go to kick one off?
Sure, absolutely. So y'all all probably know that half or more than half of the battle in a fundraising event, especially a golf tournament, is planning the right way. And I'm going to kind of take Trevor's lead here on what absolutely to avoid and how to really set yourself up for success and have an efficiently run golf tournament that can raise you a lot of money. So for me, the first step, and sometimes this can be a year out if it's a brand new golf tournament, is making sure that you have the right either presenting sponsor or committee that is going to help you recruit your foursomes and your sponsors. So the way to set yourself up for success, in my opinion, with that is to either have what in the MDA world, we would call this a presenting sponsor. And that is that's more of a vendor-driven golf tournament where, say, you have like a very large construction company that says, sure, we'll be the presenting sponsor. And the way that we're going to get foursomes and sponsors to this thing is we're going to ask our vendors that we support by giving them business year-round to come and support us in this avenue. So where MDA your nonprofit will do most of the work in preparing the sponsorship packages and all of those details that these business owners don't have the time to do, where they're able to really help make a golf tournament successful is by asking their vendors to come participate in this golf tournament as a way to network with the presenting company, in a out of office, more conversational, relaxing environment. And then those vendors, they really need to come and support them, because the business will say, they could take their business somewhere else, so it's, the vendors need to go support the presenting sponsor, but it's also a great time for them to build relationship with their vendors. So we have some really successful golf tournaments that are vendor driven. And then we have other tournaments that are committee driven. So we have committees that represent many different industries in a town or in a community, and they each go ask 4 or 5, 6, 7 businesses that they know or personal contacts to come support it. So that's the way to get your foursomes and sponsors in a more efficient way. What I would say absolutely avoid at all costs is having a tournament where your staff is responsible for getting the foursomes just through posting on social media or asking friends and family to come do it. That is not sustainable over a long period of time. It will lead to burnout, and they're just not as successful, in my experience.
Well, I think that's something that's, we talk about a lot in different things about how building that community representation and help and the committees and things like that. So I'm going to ask a specific question about the first on the presenting sponsor. So, you mentioned a construction company, but just kind of riff, if you don't mind, just for a minute, maybe you pipe in, Amy, too, some, you don't have to be specific about the name, but just the industries. That way folks that are listening, whether now or on the recording, can say, well, yeah, I don't really know anybody in the construction company, but I do know somebody in that.
Sure. So think about when you're looking for maybe a presenting sponsor that would have a lot of vendors that they can invite. Think about businesses that work with a lot of vendors. So I threw construction out there because if you're a big commercial construction company, you're going to have someone that does your concrete, your framing, your roofing. You're going to buy your nails from someone. You're probably going to have an interior designer you work with. But there are tons of different industries that are vendor heavy. So big car dealerships can be a great one. That to have a good vendor driven tournament with some of these businesses, they're going to have multiple locations so that they have leverage and buying power with those vendors. But big convenience store chains, anything
restaurants,
that
restaurants that have tons of vendors.
Banks, can banks be good? Have you seen
banks
that?
Banks are tough. They don't have as many vendors as what you would typically want. So normally what kind of the mark that we use for ours is we want a presenting or title sponsor that has a minimum of 200 vendors.
Okay.
That's kind of our starting point.
Awesome.
And I think sometimes we don't always, when we say vendors also incorporates the law firm that the company uses, the accounting firm that the company, who carries their insurance, their banks. That's where you would incorporate something like that. But like convenience stores, like your like gas stations or whatever, tons and tons of vendors. The car dealerships, the
Harley dealers.
Harley's a great one. Any of these companies that are like big distributors of products, different products. Jason, it goes, I feel like it reminds me of when you say pull out your phone, who's in your contact list, or I always say like, who do you write the biggest check to? It goes back to these title or sponsors who writes a whole lot of checks to a whole lot of companies that could take their business somewhere else.
Smart. Okay.
Well, and I think that's the thing that you've got to start off with is, who do you know? And it is, I say it over and over every week, this is the most powerful fundraising tool we have. So who do we know? And so even if you say, well, we really don't have a relationship, I assure you, either you do, somebody on your board, somebody in your somebody, you may have a donor that you don't even realize. You just think, well, come to find out, they've got a $100 million company that they're the CEO or CFO or something, in the C-suite of, and they're looking for something like that to do. And they do have all those vendors.
Manufacturing's a big one.
Yeah. Manufacturing. I know a company you talked about, distributor. They're a meat packing plant. Well, they distribute hamburger patties and chicken to hundreds of restaurants, thousands maybe. And they reach out to all those, and I've been to their tournaments, and I mean, they've got, you name it, they're there. Not just people that they know, but also, like you said, all their vendors, everybody that, sells them soap to all the way through the chain. And so I think that they're probably, if you really go and look, find out who that cares about your organization, you're going to have some contact in there somewhere. So everybody's going to have one. So let's talk about the second one you talked about. I think that's really, really important. But the second one is the committee-driven one. So maybe I don't have that, but I do have, committee. So let's talk about that a little bit, Lisa. Kind of what's your strategy, Amy, for putting together your committee there?
Sure. So say you have identified a community that has the means, and you could have something there. Maybe it's where your office is, or you have a board member that's there and they really want to bring something to the area, and you can't find a business that maybe could present this golf tournament on their own. If you can get 5, 6, 7 people in a committee, it wouldn't necessarily be board level, but a committee that will come together and be willing to kind of do what the presenting sponsor would do on a smaller level, that can be extremely successful as well. So these people, a lot of times you would look for people that are in leadership at big companies or that C-level executives, so that they could, maybe their company doesn't have 200 vendors, but their company does a lot of business with 5 people, and they could ask them all to come support that. If you get, like I said, 5 to 7 or 5 to 10 people in one room that are willing to come together and do that work for your organization as well, those can be really great tournaments. And another pro of kind of doing a committee-led tournament is that can access tons of different industries. So say one person on your committee is a restaurateur, one is in construction, one is a banker, and one is a lawyer. That's all different industries coming together that's learning about your mission. And it also helps grow your committee over years. And that's what's going to grow your event. So that can really, and a lot of times you will have someone, this is what we always say at MDA, if you have a gala, normally someone in that room can turn into a golf tournament for you, or you can recruit, 5 more people that participated in your mission drive or something to start a golf tournament for you if they aren't necessarily interested in galas. So galas are a great way to acquire new golf tournaments, or, some people like to do, it doesn't necessarily have to be golf, but fishing event or, something along those lines.
Perfect.
Yeah. There's one that I just thought of, and this is just something that, done, and I never saw them do it, but I played the tournament. It was like radio stations, TV stations, because they had all these advertisers they brought in, kind of put it together, and they raised a bunch of money doing that same kind of thing. They were trying to just have their clientele in, but they wound up raising a lot of money. So, but one of the things going back to that committee, the other thing I think of, I don't know if this is true or not, but one thing about when you have a committee, if you lose your title sponsor, you don't have to go find another one, because your committee just kind of stays there and builds on itself. You're not probably going to lose everybody at one time, but one person leaves. Well, you just bring somebody in if you're constantly kind of cultivating that.
Yeah.
Yes, you're exactly right. And that is something that is a little bit, a risk, if you're doing like your, the, whatever that analysis is that we do after events, I can't even remember it now, but it's like
the return on investment.
It's always a risk that if you have one major title sponsor that is the real revenue driver of something, they could decide at any point to go support a number of other very well-deserving nonprofit organizations. That's where you continue to invest them in your mission. So, making your events mission rich too helps continue to engage them with the people you're helping, and kind of not guarantee you, but give you a little bit of insurance that hopefully they'll continue coming back to support you. But you have to keep them engaged in your mission to, hope that they don't choose someone else the next year.
Well, we had a company here in Oklahoma City that was huge philanthropist. I mean, they spent, it was a public company. They spent a lot of money in the community, did a lot of really good things. And it was almost became a detriment because they were a little too easy in ways. So all of a sudden, whenever their market turned upside down, they had to, bring in some stuff. They went into I can't think of what the word is, but basically they shut everything down because they were in cash conserving mode. And it really became, people had to scramble and go figure out how to replace that, because all of a sudden this, and it wasn't, they wanted to continue doing it. They just couldn't. But one of the things I want to just bring up real quick, because we always think about the big check, somebody like that title sponsor writing a big check. But really what you're saying is much, much more than that. They're doing a whole lot more than just writing a check. You're looking for somebody who can pick up the phone and make some calls and spend some time.
Yep.
And honestly, in our most of our events where it is a vendor driven and we have a presenting or title sponsor, they actually don't write a check at all.
Whoa, really?
Their name goes on it because they are the driving force and allowing us to use their vendor list. So it's a win-win for them in that they're getting their name out there. It's essentially not costing them anything, but we're bringing it, they're doing something that benefits MDA and we're making a lot of money. And like I said, in most cases, now that's not to say on the flip side, obviously the people at that company that are part of the, the presenting company or the title sponsor, we're going to hope that they spend money the night, the day of the event when we do a mission drive or a live auction or whatever. We're going to hope they spend money, day of. But as far as the company itself, like writing a big check, we don't have them doing that.
Wow, that's interesting.
Okay, I'm gonna ask a couple of questions here, and this is gonna and I would love to get some other people that
we have a great question that's kind of teed up right now, Jay. We have a great question.
Let's hit it.
Yeah, Molly asked a really cool question. Can you talk more about how to make the event mission rich?
Sure.
Enriching the message, if you will. You know what I mean? That's going out there.
Yes, absolutely. So it's not just making sure that the event is mission rich, but it's also your year-round communication plan with that title sponsor, but specifically talking about making the event mission rich. So one of the things that we try to incorporate into every golf tournament is a mission drive or mission appeal component of it. So we, of course, always invite local families in the area or people that are benefiting from your organization to come, and just even if it's just to be there to be a presence, it's also a way for us to show them some love. Like, we'd love to have you come out, be part of this tournament. We're going to have a lunch there. We'd love for you to be our guest. And then we normally will have someone speak, share a little bit about their story, how MDA has met them in their journey. They share what it's been like living with a muscular dystrophy diagnosis. And that helps the people in the room connect with the mission, which of course then we lead into the mission drive and do donations through that. But there's also a year-round cultivation plan that we have, not just with our title sponsor, and also communicating with all of the attendees. When they register for the event, we get their email address, and leading up to the event, we'll do once a week emails, probably just the month leading up to the event. Well, we will share details, but we also will share a local story. Say, hey, catch this video. This is someone that just attended MDA summer camp. They'd love to share a little bit of their story with you. And then throughout the year, when it's not as heavy with the event communication, we make sure and send news articles to our mission or the presenting sponsor, new drugs that have been approved, progress with Muscular Dystrophy Association, or, especially something that's local, like a new research grant was found in Florida that is, investing in your community. So it's just making sure that you continue to let them know that their support is making a difference. That's what they need to leave, feeling like they're making a difference.
I love that. I hope that helps, Molly. And Molly's with YMCA, so that seems like they'd be able to get a local presence and share that message at their events. They do a lot of golf events apparently. So really great question, Molly. Thank you. That's cool. Thanks, Lisa.
Sure.
So let me ask you this. When we're talking about committee pre-event, we're still talking about pre the golf tournament. Talk to me about like some things that you would say, and this is kind of a weird deal because I know Amy has some thoughts on it, but I'd like to hear yours as well, Lisa, about setting the price and making sure that your golf tournament makes money from the start.
Yes. So that is something that we're very strategic about. You know, we kind of have in our mind like a expense ratio that we want to have as a standard for all of our events, just to make sure that we're continuing to invest in our mission. So if you're working with a committee, this is how I normally start. Like, say there's a chair or something, you do want to be respectful of their wishes. So sometimes they may say, you know, what I think is going to be best in this community is an elevated experience. I feel like I'll be able to sell that better to my contacts. You know, I do kind of trust our committee when they say things like that. Some will say, no, we've got a great local public course that people will love to come to. We can set a low price. So I will oftentimes like present them with several options. If they have recommendations for me for courses, I research them, I get the prices, and, you know, we kind of add everything up. We're very transparent with our committees about the cost, that it's going to come back to MDA the day of, and then what we need to charge for foursomes. So if someone has their eye on a really nice course, they would like a seated lunch, and they want everybody to walk away with a Yeti cooler or something, you know, we would lay out all of those expenses and say, okay, totally understandable. We would need to sell out this event, we would need to get a $15,000 sponsor, a $10,000 sponsor, and then 20 foursomes at a price of $3,500 a foursome. Do you think you all can go out and you have, you know, 5, 6, or 7 people that would come and pay $3,500 for the foursome? And we let them know, like, this is what it's going to be, to make sure that we're having at least 75% go back to the mission, or, you know, whatever percentage we decided to go by. If they say, I think it's going to be easier for me to sell foursomes at a $1,500 rate, then we can research some courses in the area and say, this is what I think will be reasonable. We can do this course, we can do a barbecue lunch, and then, you know, free beer, but the rest is all paid for or something. Sure. We just kind of like set it out and put it on them. What do you think you can sell? This is what we need to do to hit, you know, $50,000 or $100,000, whatever our goal is.
So really what you're doing is saying, let's take the vision, see what it's going to cost, how much money we can raise, and then say, okay, is this what you can go do? So that way we're not doing the thing of, hey, wouldn't it be really cool if we got some Yeti coolers for everybody? Well, we've already set the budget. You know, we can't do that for $1,000 a team.
Right.
Or something like that, whatever the number may be.
It's all transparency to me. I find that the committee appreciates that. And there is a little bit of they see behind the curtain when they join the committee, because they see like people are not donating the course. They're not donating Yeti coolers for, you know, 100 people to come play golf. Those things have expenses, and that drives up the price. But I find that most people appreciate that, and it makes them really think about any events that they're invited to sponsor or participate in, and say like, wow, okay, so $5,000 may seem steep for a table, but I know that there's a lot of expenses that go into this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I think that's awesome.
So my second part of that is, so we talked about, you know, the cost of the team, and that's kind of how we set that up and what it is. So now let's talk about my favorite thing to do to get it all paid for. So how far, you know, how deep in the paint do you like to go with pre-event, you know, sponsorships? Now we all know that, you know, there's whole sponsorships and the title sponsor and this sponsor. I like to underwrite everything to see, you know, if it's attached, not attached, whatever, you know, have a sponsorship tied to it. Whether, even if you don't sell it, have the opportunity, I guess is what I'm saying. But so what does MDA do when it comes to that kind of stuff?
So we generally have, for a golf outing, we generally have the same level of sponsorships for each event. Like we would have a presenting sponsor, and of course that's your highest level that provides the most visibility, and, you know, maybe a mid-level that would be a foursome plus some extra branding opportunities for them, a foursome, a twosome, and then a single golfer. And then we do have some underwriting opportunities. It depends on the committee and the or the presenting sponsor of how many underwriting opportunities they want. Like some of ours, it gets a little tedious and just a lot of details on our end when they want, every single thing in the goodie bag underwritten, you know, so they have tons of opportunities for people to be branded in the goodie bag. And all of those are different underwriting opportunities. But then we also, we will underwrite the golf cart, the scorecard, the entertainment if we're going to have a band or something, the lunch, the breakfast, the bar, all of those things. And especially anything that we're going to incur the cost of anyways. Like we know at most of these, there's going to be a bar, there's of course going to be golf carts and scorecards. If we know that we're going to have to do it regardless and it makes sense to have a sponsorship related to those things, we do that. We do get a little bit more weary of adding sponsorships that would incur us more expenses. So like when I said that Yeti cooler thing, we would be a little weary of adding like a cooler sponsor, a cup sponsor, a shirt sponsor, just because those ultimately also will impact our expenses. So but we will do it if they want to.
That's a great point. And I just, so it was going to be my follow on to that. When you have something like that you're going to incur a cost on, do you say, okay, look, we're going to go buy it. We're going to go work our deal, we'll do, because we've got volume. We can go buy Yeti coolers better than direct from anybody else. But so for the Yeti cooler sponsor, instead of it being, and I'm making numbers up because we know how this probably pay for one Yeti cooler. Instead of it being, the cost is $5,000, but the sponsorship's 10.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, do y'all do that? Is that something? Because I think that's a really good thing to do. Instead of saying, well, my cost on it's $4,872.62, and we round it 5. I would say, like 7,500 or 10 grand. So you're making money on those opportunities for that.
Yes. So on those, we still want to keep our expense ratio. So say that it does cost $5,000 to get Yeti coolers for everyone. And then that's also a foursome. So we add in, an additional $250 or whatever for the foursome of golf. So that's $5,250. That's the value that is their sponsorship. We would then multiply that by the additional percentage that we want to have come back to our mission. And that would be the cost of the sponsorship, because we still want, we don't want it to be like an exact, generally, Amy, and tell me if some of our other events don't operate this way. We don't want someone just paying for something at the exact value or amount that it is, because then nothing is coming back to the organization, and that's not really being good stewards of our money.
Okay. Who all here, just give a show of hands. That's a new concept for
underwriting.
Well, underwriting for more money than what the expense is.
Yeah. Yep.
I think that's really okay. Good.
A lot of it's very new. I got to be honest. What we're seeing in the space right now, underwriting is very, very rare for a lot of organizations, unfortunately. So we're trying to coach people up for sure.
Well, and it also gives value to the company. So they're not just paying for the Yeti coolers. They're paying for 100 people to receive that and use that at the beach. And it's branding opportunities for them. So it could come out of their marketing budget for all we know, but you don't want to undercut yourself.
They get plenty of shine for it. That's for sure.
Well, and I think that's where, we in the nonprofit world tend to undersell ourselves, because we think, well, we're in the nonprofit space. We're just trying to get everything for free, or it ain't for me kind of thing. And I say we, I mean a very general deal. But if we look at this as a business, a profitability thing, what do we have to sell? Well, we have sponsorships to sell. We have this opportunity, so we have to make a profit on it. If we don't make a profit on it, we're just losing money.
What's the point?
We're just moving around, and basically they're getting free advertising on our event. We're not leveraging the opportunity. They're going to get in front of 100, like you said, 100 people that are in business. I mean, you think about that. We're talking about if we're going to get in a corporate, we've got all these business owners and C-suite people and decision makers that they're going to get in front of. So I think that's one of the things with golf tournaments specifically that is probably one of the most underrated, misunderstood portions is that you have to make a profit. We're a nonprofit, but that's just a tax election. We have to make a profit on these opportunities.
Yep.
And also, the thing is when you break it down to that, when you break it down to that and you think about it for them from the marketing standpoint, that's where it really does become a big visibility.
The true market value of things are not the exact face value, if that makes sense. I mean, if you have an item or a component of your event that's being that costs $2,000, but it helps you create $100,000 in funds, you understand the market value and the disconnect there in a positive sense. So you can assign a price tag. I'm using that as an example with like mobile bidding software could cost $2,000, but you don't need to sell it for $2,000 to a sponsor, you know?
Yeah,
So
mark it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Any questions on that? Does anybody have any questions or thoughts on that that you'd like? Well, we got them here while we're on the pre-event side. We're gonna move on to another part here in just a second. So so is there a percentage markup you recommend? Molly just asked, is there a percentage markup that you guys recommend?
It's a great question.
I mean, normally we are going to say whatever like the all-in cost is. So for example, if it's, you know, like Lisa gave you the example of, it's this amount to buy the Yeti coolers and it's this amount for the golf. And it's, you know, it comes up, say it totals $5,000. We're going to like 1.5 to 2 times that.
Good.
So I like Jason, you hit the nail on the head when you said you're going to sell it for 7,500 to 10,000. Now, really and truly, when I say 1.5, that's on the low end. 99% of the time we are gonna double that.
And there's a really good point, you know, and just that Lisa brought up, because as you said, okay, so let's use the number that it was 5,000. Okay, 5,000 plus we've got a team, we've got our cost in there with the team because we're going to give a team away. Well, if we only charge what the cost is, we've lost money on that sponsorship.
Yeah, you're already in the red.
So we're going the other way. I'm a believer, you know, I tell people all the time when we just some of our stuff and they want to go get it under it. I'm like, don't just sell it for the cost. Use this to make money. This is a money-making opportunity for you.
And our foursomes. Go ahead, Amy.
I was just going to say, and when you say cost, I mean, you really need to get your per golfer cost that includes what is their portion of the venue, what is their portion, like how much does it cost to feed them, how much is their alcohol, like it is the all-in cost, you know, for that golfer. And so if it's $200 for everything as their portion, I'm going to charge $400 for them to golf.
Absolutely.
Well, I was going to say most of our foursomes, we even do 3 to 4 times. Like say it's $1,000 all inclusive
demand
for one person or for a foursome to come golf. We would normally charge $4,000 for that. But you know that people look at how much is going back to the organization, which they absolutely should. How can you expect 80% to go back to your organization if you're not pricing your foursomes that way? Or how can you expect 75% to go back to your organization if you're not upselling by 4 times? So, you know, we know that we'll get some mission drive in and things like that, but, you know, you have to be a good steward of your money.
I mean, this is about making money because once it's gone, it's gone. And if you multiply that by, you know, let's say you have 40 teams or what's the I forget what's the max teams you can do on a tournament. If you have
for one course, like 36 is
okay. So 36
it's gonna be a long day.
Teams. Yeah. So 36 teams. If that's the maximum you do, you multiply that loss 36 times, you've really hurt yourself. So if you're not making significant money on it, you're almost better off just not have a golf tournament, go do a fundraiser, do something like that.
Yes.
And that's where my point was, because I know a lot of organizations that because it was mismanaged, they stopped doing it. And it was all pre-event. It was all pre-event driven. So that's why I think it's so important that you're pricing it out enough. And if you've got somebody that's not willing to pay whatever the price is, you probably don't need them on your team. You don't want them there anyway, because they're not going to be that's not the person that you're going to want. And if you're driving it with your committee, it's going to be the people that we know. And I know that, you know, Amy loves to play golf. I know that she's, you know, all about it. This is what she does all the time anyway. And her spending, you know, walks around with a $4,000 set of golf clubs. So going and spending $4,000, you know, or $1,000 to play golf at this place with this tournament with friends people that they know, it's nothing. They don't even think about it. So,
well, and I think too, Jason, we got to remember in most of these cases, whether it's a committee going after different industries, or it's your presenting sponsor going after their vendors, I think we get hung up in like, well, like Lisa can't afford to pay that. Lisa's not paying. It's a company that's paying. Like I think we get caught up in people versus most of these. It's a company. It's built into their budget.
Very good.
They have X amount and they know what they're going to spend. And like Lisa said, sometimes it might come out of their marketing budget because it is, whatever sponsorship is marketing their company, or sometimes it comes out of their overall budget. A lot of them have a regular nonprofit, community type budget. So I think that's like one of the battles is to get past that. It's not the individual person that you're asking to write the check.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it brings up a really good point. If you don't play golf, if that's not your thing, or you've never, you're playing what I call pasture golf, because you've never played on anything, you can't don't spend your money, because it's not your money that you're spending. You're not in that position. That's not who we're trying to get. People that are in this deal, they understand what the cost is. Believe it or not, they do. And they know what it costs to go play in a charity tournament. They understand why they're there. They understand that it's a deal to make money, and they're there to, play golf, hang out, and network, and to help your mission. And they may not have anything to do. They may not have a clue what your mission really is, but this is a time to bring them into the mission. So I just want to really say, we've hit about halfway point. And so we've talked about the front. Any last questions? Anybody have anything on pre-golf tournament? Because we're going to get to the day of here in a second.
Macro points that we make. These are bullet points that we make every single week is don't be afraid to ask for more. So you're hearing it from the best. They 4X the cost. For instance, Jason is telling people, we're imploring people every week, ask for more. If you asked for $500 at your table last year, this year, ask for $1,500. There's money in the system. People want to give.
If you're asking for $500 for a table for anything, call me. Call me. We're going to have a talk.
Email Jay. This is really, really important. And this is empowerment and a nudge to get people. You're hearing it from the best. You hear it from us every single week. Don't be afraid to ask for more. And if you can't do it, let's find someone that can, right? In your network, on the committee that can and that will, because the money is there to do it, and people can, they have it, and they care. So they will. So these are just macro points that we talk about every single week, on top of the underwriting, elephant in the room. But that being said, so we'll shift.
Okay. All right. Now we've done all the stuff. We've got there. It's the day of the tournament. We want to raise some money there at the day of the tournament. So we'll hit on anything you want to hit on, what you think, but I'm looking for the top 2 or 3 things that you guys have found that really are money makers for you, that you guys just like, we have to do this.
The biggest thing is mission drive, mission appeal. If you're doing a golf tournament, that we try to incorporate it somehow into every golf event that we have. Yeah. All of our golf events do have a meal portion of it, whether that is, if it's an afternoon, most of the time it's a lunch. It's an afternoon shotgun start. We do a luncheon to begin with. If it's a morning shotgun start, which is most common for us, it's a luncheon afterwards. And during that lunch, it is seated, maybe not served, maybe it's a buffet and they go in and sit down, but there is a mission appeal with a person that has benefited from your organization that is there speaking, and then your auctioneer or MC asks people to, ante up, donate.
Awesome.
So that is the biggest revenue driver for us, because it does not cost us anything. And that is doubling the effort of engaging people in your mission. We also, at our best golf events, have a live auction. It might just be, 4 or 5 items, but that comes after our mission appeal. And if you don't have the audience there to participate in a live auction, don't try to make it happen just to make it happen. We also do have good luck with revenue enhancers on the course. Like having someone out there to do the ball cannon and they're taking money. Normally we do hire outside companies to run those for us. And in all transparency, it is normally like a 50-50 split. They get half of the money, we get half the money, but they are out there. It doesn't take a volunteer from us. We don't have to put any effort into it. And then they are pushing a little bit harder if they're getting a kickback. At a tournament this past year, we did try something a little bit different. When people signed up for their foursome, they could also purchase a super ticket for like $75 or $100. And that way, all of the contests that were out on the course, it was included in their super ticket. They didn't have to basically our presenting sponsor didn't want people to feel like they were being hit up for money every other hole. So you did the super ticket and you got to do the hole-in-one contest, the ball launcher, the pro hit your drive. And then we also added in some different elements that didn't cost us anything but had value. So they got to go through the buffet line first. They had a designated check-in tent, so they didn't have to wait in line to do the check-in. And that ended up raising like probably, I don't know, $5,000 for us or something. And it was very, very easy. So, there's all the revenue enhancers for golf, I would say, are pretty standard. All of the longest drive, the contests they do out on the course, but picking a couple of those and doing them well, they can raise your money, pretty significantly day of.
I'm curious about, because I know egos get involved on the golf course, and it's kind of like, if you get the right game, it's kind of like the state fair. I'm going to win that stuffed bear. I've got this shot in my bag. Do you guys find luck with that? Like, where there's a canoe in the pond and somebody trying to put a ball and it's $10 a shot and you maximum 3 shots, or because you got to do things to keep things moving. One of the things I want to just say, you don't want to have a 6-hour tournament. You want to get things moving and keep going. So there's limitations what you can do, but in a shotgun start, you're going to have people having to wait because the way it is. And on these holes, if you have something there, I'd like to see some little things there where somebody can do, $10 a shot to put a ball in the canoe. And if they do, they win a trip. Okay. You've got some prize there. Chances are you're not going to have to do it. You can get it underwritten and you're sitting there making money because somebody's doing there going, yeah. And I'm going to get your thoughts on this, because I know y'all love software and do things. I like to have a way where they can do it without having to pull money out of their pocket. If you got to pull money out of your pocket, it gets really difficult. But if I just got to put it on my number, or they're going to put it on my bill, well, then I might do it 3 or 4 times, and it's $30 a pop every time because everybody's going to take 3 shots. And that's just an example. So, 4 people on a team, everybody's ego, they're going to try to hit it. So the next thing you know, you just made $120 off that one team, and they all do it. So I don't know. Those are things.
Yeah, we don't do any cash on the course for any contest or anything. It's all bidder number through the software, just a quick.
Good.
And like Lisa said, typically I think most of our events have gotten where instead of where we're like selling things throughout the day of the course, it's more of, like she said, the ticket package, or sometimes we call them Eagle cards or whatever it is, and you sell them and then they get to check off, they use their 2 mulligans, they did the hole-in-one contest, they did the putting contest, whatever.
The thing that people get frustrated with at golf tournaments is a lot of times is that it bottlenecks. So like anybody that's done one kind of knows this is what it is. It's like you're like crazy busy, then you have a long time of nothing, and then it's like crazy busy again, and people do not want to wait in line. We have found that people spend more money if their experience is better from the get-go. So if they come in, registration is streamlined, and then they can go ahead and go get breakfast, get a Bloody Mary, go practice their driving, whatever they want to do. They end up spending more money with us because they come and they arrive and they're in a better mood. So doing that Eagle Card or Super Ticket helps streamline that registration process, because it's not like, okay, and now mulligans are $10 a piece and you can get a max of 5. And then you can also do raffle tickets and you can also participate in this. It's like one thing. Do you want to do it? Yes or no? And 90% of the time people say yes.
Cool.
I think that's a really good lesson. Thank you for sharing that. That's a huge deal.
Well, and you can also, a lot of times we'll give them the opportunity when they purchase their sponsorship. There's online. A place on the commitment form or online, however you do it, that says like, we want to purchase 4 of the super tickets or Eagle Card or whatever it's called. And they just do it ahead of time. So when they get there, we've already got it like prepackaged. They check in, here you go, here's your super ticket or whatever.
Okay, let me ask you this real quick. So if we're running a tournament, we got a tournament going on, it's going to be afternoon. Do you guys recommend doing all the fundraising that you're going to do at that term prior to or post? So in other words, if it's going to be an afternoon, everybody's going to come in for lunch, starts at 1, shotgun start at 1. I'm just making it up. Starts at 1 o'clock and done. Do you do that and then come back, or is it just right after? What have y'all found to be the best combination overall that works the best? knowing that there's always going to be exceptions?
It's hard with golf because this is going to be a generalization. I'll apologize for it on the front, but most of the time it's men coming to participate in a golf tournament, and a lot of times they're going to be running late, or they're going to get there 10 minutes early, and then that's it. So where I have had the most success is having a morning shotgun start followed by a luncheon.
Okay, good. That's the information I was trying to get, because I was sitting there thinking, knowing myself, as many tournaments as I've played in over the years, yeah, it may or may not work out that I get there. And I know a lot of times everybody's sitting there waiting. Guys are running in the last minute right before the start.
I think there's just, regardless of how much we plan, I think that pre-event, there's just too much going on. You got some, they're trying to, warm up. Some are coming in late. There's changes to the foursome. So you're trying to change out who's on what team, and they're eating breakfast. And so they're not thinking about fundraising or
they're thinking
the mission,
about golf.
or they're thinking about golf. Yeah. We want to get out there and get back. So after the event, and we talked about, they're competitive. So we have this dinner program that's where we give out the awards, who got first place, who had the longest drive, so they stick around because they want to find out that stuff and they want to eat. And when I say that, it is a very short, condensed, eat and then some fundraising and awards. And, we're not trying to keep them for hours like you would a gala. I mean, it's
yes, very
an hour, or whatever, because we know they're ready to go. But yes, all that day of fundraising outside of those Eagle cards, we have much better luck after the event. And they've had a few cocktails and they're relaxed. Yeah. And sometimes you spend more money and you have cocktails.
That's why I was mentioning that, because I think that's exactly the thing. Because you got half the people there that may be really big golfers and they golf all the time. You got the other half that haven't played since the last time of the tournament, and they're trying to learn how to play golf on the driving range and trying to figure out how to get the slice, or the bend out of that slice again. And so Mary had a question. She said, do you offer anything like the Mulligan's raffle tickets for sale individually to folks that don't want the purchase, or it's one and done? They either the Eagle ticket or nothing?
I think it depends on the event.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, we do it to kind of avoid having those onesie twosies. But let me think. We did not do anything additional like mulligans. There were some different things. I actually don't remember. It does depend on the event. And maybe we would have the option there if they specifically asked for it, but it's just not in our registration spiel. We have that script basically that we have to run through, and you have such a short amount of time that someone's even paying attention to you, that we wouldn't offer it there. We might have a sign or something that says mulligans $10, and then if someone asked for it, we would do it.
And if you have, I think that comes down to two, volunteers. How many volunteers do you have at registration? Because if you have enough, volunteers, put one of them at the end that's all they're doing. They're not checking people in after they're checked in. They can go buy mulligans. They can go buy raffle tickets. They can go buy whatever. But with the mulligans, I will throw this out there. I am not a fan of any more than 2 mulligans. These outings where you buy 10 mulligans or whatever, all that does is slow down your play, and it's painful for everybody else.
Yeah, you're playing best ball, and so it's gonna, you're trying to speed it up, and then you're gonna have anybody. They're all cheating anyway, so you just got to figure that out.
Oh yeah, they all lie on their cards. The scorecards.
What?
Okay. I want to, just because we're coming up on time, and we will absolutely be done in 11 minutes. So we got 11 minutes left. So in that time, give us 3 things that you say, absolutely do not do this to your event. If you're doing a golf tournament, avoid this at all costs.
That's a tough one.
That is tough. My first one is you as a nonprofit can.
You mentioned
go ahead,
one
Trevor.
earlier. Yeah, you mentioned one earlier, Lisa. I'm sorry. What was it?
The nonprofit organization cannot be recruiting all of your sponsors and foursomes.
Okay. Yeah.
You will not be successful pretty much unless you have a very captive audience that is willing to support you.
Okay.
Let's see. I mean, the other one kind of goes back to don't undercut yourself. Don't sell your underwriting sponsorships at what it costs you. You're not going to raise any money that way.
Yep.
I got one.
Go
Don't
for
be
it.
cheap on the gift bag.
Ooh.
If it's going to be junk, then don't even give one. Because I can tell you right now, how many tournaments you go to and you see the gift bag is in the trash. If it's not something good, make sure that if you're going to do it, give something that somebody's going to want to have and keep. Make it nice. Don't have to give 65 different things in a bag of crap. I mean, everybody's always saying, well, you got some teas and a sleeve of balls. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Because you're going to have some people there. But if you're not going to give Titleists away, I would forget the balls too myself. And don't give something that nobody's going to care about. Some plastic, this, that, and the other. Everybody's wanting to put their deal because it winds up in the I mean, every tournament I've ever been to that had that, it's all in the trash before they ever get out the deal, or it's thrown in the back and they're left you walk by the carts whenever you're pulling up and they're all in the cart.
No garbage swag.
Very true.
No garbage.
Yep.
I love that. Another thing that can be underwritten, of course. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, just make a good gift, because if you want to have a good tournament and like you said, that experience where people are going to want to go back, that's going to be cool. One thing that I think is that I've heard people say at golf tournaments that they always talk about. It's always one of those things. Go get a long drive golfer.
Oh,
and it's really cool. I've heard some people talk about this and they go, yeah, this guy's up here, and they would do some tricks and do some stuff like out there, do some some cool things, and they would be on some hole, and that was the guy that you would get the drive from. Could be a pro, whatever, and it was out drive the pro kind of thing, and they'd go get a long drive.
Yep.
He's hitting and one thing it does, it speeds thing up, because you've got a guy that's hitting a 350-yard drive.
Yes.
And everybody gets to play that ball, and it speeds things up. So that's just another idea I've heard golfers say really responded well to it.
Amy, what's jumping out of you as in like an absolutely don't do this? Absolutely not.
I mean, I think I'm gonna ditto Lisa. Like, don't make it and your organization is putting on this golf outing and doing all the work. You just don't the time spent for you and to be honest with you, it's really hard to just randomly find people, whether you're inviting friends, family, coworkers, friends, families, whatever, that like just trying to build a golf outing from nothing. It's so much work. It's just not worth it. I mean, that's mine too, is
awesome.
Build your committee, or find that title sponsor that has lots of vendors. And then with that, plan for 20% attrition every year as you continue to build that. So
cool.
Yeah.
Unequivocally have everything available on the phone. No questions asked. Have everything available on the phone as well. Correct. As far as
software is
software. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Ticketing, sponsor.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No question. Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Awesome.
Last chance for questions. Right now it's coming, because we're going to draw a winner for the prize we've got here at the end, just like we do every week. And would it be possible? I know I have one from last year. Maybe if there's something updated or whatever, could we make possible for kind of like y'all's little guide that you use for sponsorship? Y'all have done that in the past. Would that be okay if we put that out and send it to everybody on the list today?
Like a sample sponsorship?
Yeah, just like kind of like your template that you've got. You guys have like a golf template that you use?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
That'd be cool. That'd be good for everybody if we share that. I don't think folks have a lot of questions because they're too busy taking too many notes. I hope so.
This has been really good. Really, really good, ladies. Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, let's draw a winner and let's ring the bell. So it's Sandra Trimble. Sandra, congratulations. You won a prize you could go raise money with. So congratulations. And we're going to send out an email following up with this with a recording. Please, we do this free every week, but we ask you to, pay a simple fee. Share this with another nonprofit professional that's coming up. And also, we're going to put Lisa and Amy on there. So if you have a question for them, you can ask them. I know they're more than happy to help share the knowledge. Reach out to myself, Jason at HJ Fundraising, Trevor at HJ Fundraising, anytime. We're always here to help. And that doesn't mean we're going to try to sell you anything. So please understand that we're happy just to answer questions and spend some time with you if that would help you raise more money. So Trevor, thanks. Amy, Lisa, thank you so much. Golly.
Thanks for having us.
We owe you,
fun.
We owe you, ladies. Thank you so much. That was so cool. And everyone is definitely grateful for all that info. So can't thank you all enough. That was fantastic, and we got to do it again. So we'll see everybody next week for episode 80, and share with
Hey, and don't forget to pop in for our podcast.
Hey Nonprofits, Raise More Money. It's the one podcast in the world in the nonprofit space. So thanks so much for everyone for downloading and checking that out. But hey, thanks so much, ladies. Have a great Thursday. We appreciate you immensely. We'll talk to you all soon. Thanks, Jay.